Devontae, I know it's scary, but if your dreams don't scare you a little bit, then they aren't big enough. I read that on a pop-up ad for a dildo.
Baby, I've been waiting. I've been waiting night and day. Hey, fun fans, we enjoy. We're bringing you Leonard Cohen's favorite movie today, Natural Born Killers, in the main event. We
should have had my mom on this episode because she loves Leonard Cohen so much.
I mean, you've got a phone, and she's got a phone.
That's true.
And she has a computer. Oh, I'm all for Carol Goldman talking about natural born killers.
Well,
we had the
probably saw it.
Let me introduce her,
but I don't think so. All right, fine.
We have the Magnitude Eric. I am Matt Fowler. Say hello, Eric Goldman, who is about to call his mom.
I'm Eric, son of Carol. Hi, everybody.
We're talking about Natural Born Killers in today's main event, and man,
we didn't even decide what we're doing next week. By the way,
I put down movies in the Google Doc. You just delete three of them. Delete three of them and do the one you want to do. We have decided that we've been doing franchises, and this one, Natural Born Killers, was always in the back of my mind ever since we talked about possibly doing a Woody Harrelson block, but also because we had just done Scream, and so much of Scream is specifically also like Scream 2 about like being famous for being a killer and like the 90s obsession with true crime. And it really came to a rise in that era because of tabloid journalism and televised, hugely popular televised court cases like the Menendez brothers and O.J. Simpson and stuff like that. So everything became, and it was the dawn of reality television. So all of this sort of converged at once, and you get movies like Scream, and then you just especially get movies, pre-Columbine era movies like Natural Born Killers, which I don't think could be made today the way it's made. But we'll talk about that in the main event today. Mm-hmm. Eric, how are you doing? How's this week holding up for you?
I'm fine. I'm doing well. I have, the usual, is this cough COVID?
Or is it just a cold or allergies?
Right.
Or do I have the coronavirus flowing through my veins? Yeah.
I've prepared in my mind several options for a humorous tweet if and when I finally get COVID.
Oh, good. You've got them stored in drafts, or you just sort of circling them in your mind?
I should do some drafts.
Yeah, like you want to workshop them?
Now that like Fauci is like, everyone's going to get it. I'm just like, all right, I should prep this.
Someone tweeted a few weeks back something like HPV prepared me for the event of getting vaccinated for something twice, but then getting it anyway. So that's what's happening. But I'm ahead of the curve here, Eric. I've already had it. So
I know.
Let me tell you,
early adopter.
You got to catch up. All right. Everyone's just going to get it. Unless you're like En Vogue, and you're never going to get it, right? All right. Yeah. So a little bit of entertainment news this week, and we got our good things to enjoy. But nestled into our entertainment news, we're going to just quickly run off our favorite movies of the year. And Eric, you can even throw in some TV shows you may have forgot to say last week.
Oh, we've moved beyond that.
We're past. TV's dead. Movies rule. Last week we did our favorite TV shows of 2021, and now we're going to do our favorite cinema films. I'm going to say this very quickly in the realm of entertainment news, Eric, because I haven't seen Red Notice either. I see you dropped a note in the Google Doc here that you hadn't seen Red Notice. I hadn't seen Red Notice either. And so this is the Netflix effect in full effect, which is that like I haven't seen the movie. I don't know much about the movie. I know there's like heisty stuff and art thievery. and 3 really attractive people. And that's about all I know about Red Notice, which is apparently the #1 most streamy, minutey, binge-y movie in Netflix history. So much so that it's now getting 2 sequels that are being filmed back to back. But it's, again, one of those things where it's like, this movie is supposedly supremely ginormous, yet I've never seen anyone tweet about it or talk about it or any buzz about it, except because it exists in this realm, this bubble realm of Netflix. It features huge stars, obviously, but yeah.
I mean, I haven't seen it either. So again, like maybe one day we'll watch it and we'll be like, Red Notice, Fever, we've got it. We'll love it. But
it's like COVID. Everyone's gonna get it, apparently.
Everyone's gonna get it. Based on what I've heard from people I respect and know, it is what the trailers look like to me, which is Algorithm the movie, like a movie just designed to be exactly what you think it is, which is big, beautiful stars in a movie that's made for the world, with like no nuance and like, just
and
made
Netflix
to be passively.
Bubbling over with Algorithm the movies. So many of them are so bland, but they also feature stars that are in other Netflix bland movies so that they can recommend them to you after you watch that bland movie.
But this one they got like obviously like huge stars for, but look, it was incredibly viewed. I don't think that they're lying, even as much as we talk about Netflix's wonky numbers, that a shitload of people watch this movie, which they definitely seem to push in front of people more than anything. But did anyone care? Like, again, it's like Netflix can get people to watch things. Do they get them to be into that thing? And a few things, of course they do. And that's the thing about Red Notice. It's like Julia Alexander, who a Twitter friend of ours who does a lot of like,
she breaks down a lot of the analytics.
Yeah. Mentioned how if you look at Red Notice, like the interest for it dropped almost right away. Like a shitload of people watched it. And then it was like, there was no follow through. Like it did not have a following that was like, let's keep talking about Red Notice. And that seemed like what it was going to be.
Yeah. Well, even still, I feel like once I watch Red Notice, when that fateful day comes, that it'll be better than the other mediocre algorithmy stuff on Netflix, just because it's Dwayne Johnson. I feel like his mediocre is still better than most other people's mediocre, and Ryan Reynolds in there as well. So I feel like it'll be a bit more entertaining. Though, man, that Michael Bay Ryan Reynolds movie was a stinker-rooney, I gotta say. 6 Underground,
that's what I've heard. I've skipped almost all of those. I haven't watched any of their Sandra Bullock ones. I haven't watched. Again, they get all these good actors.
Okay, so I watched The Unforgivable because I reviewed it. But yeah, she's huge on Netflix, just like Bird Box, which was also very mediocre. But Bird Box was like one of the first instances of one of these movies just hitting super big and breaking records of sorts. People talked about that one a little more because it had a hook.
It was memeable.
Yeah. Well, also they paid meme accounts to make up fake tweets about it and adopt a Bird Box challenge online.
Right.
They had a viral marketing thing going on. But also, so when these Red Notice movies drop, Eric, maybe we'll just wait till the third one comes out, and then we'll do we enjoy Red Notice franchise recap-a-thon.
Oh, and then we'll rank our Red Notice.
Well, what's your favorite Red Notice? And but I will say that I think our next horror franchise probably needs to be, although it'll be a while before this comes out, but Final Destination. Because the news is broken that John Watts of Spider-Man Home Trilogy fame is producing Final Destination 6 for HBO Max, which means that this will be a great reason for me to watch 3, 4, and 5 because I've only seen the first.
Oh wow!
I've only seen the first 2 Final Destos. Yeah.
Wow, that's actually very surprising. I mean, maybe I knew it at some point, but I'm newly surprised.
You're really surprised by that? That I only watched.
Yeah, I mean, Mary Elizabeth Winstead's in the third one. You like Mary Elizabeth Winstead?
I do like Mary Elizabeth Winstead so much so I have her album with Dan the Automator. But yeah,
that I didn't know existed until you just mentioned that.
But yeah, it's
but you won't watch Final Destination 3.
It's called Got a Girl, and I recommend it. But I didn't watch her Netflix movie that just came out either. That came and went. What was that called? It was a woman's name. Lucy.
It wasn't called Final
Natalie?
Destination 3. Is my
Natalie. I'm just saying, what was the one that came out that wasn't Gunpowder Milkshake?
I don't remember. It's just one
She's
of those
poisoned.
ones where,
She's a hit woman assassin who's poisoned, and it's a race against the clock.
It had that Netflix thing of like you watch the trailer, like this could be cool, and then everyone says it's not.
Yes. No,
like,
same thing for me with Gunpowder Milkshake. Is that it was like, oh, this cast is awesome. Look at these, just a ensemble of badasses. And you're like, that was not great. Okay. Speaking of a badass, Laura Donnelly, who I consider to be a badass because of both Outlander and The Nevers, which I enjoyed. That whatever that was, the first half of season 1 that they sort of split apart. There was a little bit of a buzz about it at the beginning of the year, but mostly because we don't talk about Whedon. But yeah, I liked what it was. I liked what was there. I enjoyed it. I liked the twists. I liked the world, and I liked her. She's great. But she has joined Marvel Studios' Halloween special, which is reportedly based on Werewolf by Night.
This is one of those things where Marvel Studios has not acknowledged this exists.
Right, but Deadline broke it. Yeah.
We previously heard that Gail Garcia Bernal is starring in it, presumably has Werewolf by Night, long-running Marvel character. He's a werewolf, guys.
And then that would mean that she would be Vampire by Night. But so
anyway, I like again, they haven't officially announced this. It is happening because it's credible people talking about it. But I like that they're doing this as far as like what sounds to be like a kind of a fun one-off special that can also basically serve as a pilot, that they can just release on its own. Plus we know Blade is coming, so it's like kind of introducing more of this sort of like monster side of the MCU.
Like the sort of the B movie horror elements of 70s comics that they were doing with Marvel, along with some of the like karate and exploitation films, action stuff,
which is Shang-Chi was.
Shang-Chi came from that too. Gail Garcia Bernal is in my good thing to enjoy today, but so you'll have to
crossover
about that. All right, let's get into our favorite movies of 2021. Eric, why don't you kick us off?
I will kick us off. Our favorite, again, that weird thing of being like realizing maybe they're not the best, but they're my favorites.
Right. And I feel like you've seen more movies than me, so you'll have a bigger list. So I'll probably be a lot of like, oh yeah, I like that too. But go for it.
I decided to whittle down to my 10 favorite, although maybe I'll do a quick lightning round of mentioning some runners up. But Psycho Gorman, which I made sure these technically all released in 2021. Psycho Gorman was at film festivals in 2020.
The first movie you said, I don't even know what the fuck it is. What are you?
You
don't
know what Psycho Gorman is?
Psycho Gorman?
Yes.
Gorman's the asshole from Aliens.
Well, this is a different thing altogether. This is a PG : Psycho Gorman, and you need to check this movie out. It is
PG?
on Shudder. Yeah, like E.T. It's a play on E.T. This is a whacked. Is
Mary Elizabeth Winstead in it?
No, this is purposeful camp. This is about an alien bounty hunter, killer monster who comes to Earth, but becomes under the control of a really bratty little girl. And it's like very funny and out there, and is doing its own thing. And it's that thing where like someone's trying to make a cult movie and that can go wrong, but this one goes right.
All right.
Yes,
I'll give it to you, even though apparently it debuted in 2020 at Beyond Fest.
I said it was a film festival in 2020, but in 2021 it was actually released. Also, I was wearing my t-shirt for Psycho Gorman at a movie theater, and this girl came up to me and she acted like I was a celebrity, Matt. She goes, "Oh my God, Psycho Gorman, I can't believe you have that shirt. My friend, I love that movie, but my friend loves that movie so much. It's his favorite movie. He's in the lobby. He has that shirt. I want him to see you wearing that shirt." It became this whole thing. That you
oh God! Now you have a new best friend. You have a shirt buddy.
Yes.
I'm just saying. Well, here's the thing: you live in Los Angeles, and if there's anybody who's going to recognize what the fuck PG Psycho Gorman is, it's somebody living there. walking around a movie theater.
Right. Werewolves Within, which I think one of us did as a thing to enjoy. Maybe me. I think it was me.
But I actually
reviewed it.
I did review it and I liked it and I agreed. So
So we don't have to say too much more about that, except it's also really fun. So I'm having a couple here in a row of like comedic horror fun stuff. But on a different level is Pig, Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, I wanted to see that.
A great movie, which many said is not what some people were expecting from the trailer, which like, is this going to be like wacky Nicolas Cage? Instead, it's somber Nicolas Cage, and he's so freaking good in it. He's a very good actor. So
turns out he should win an Oscar. Oh, wait.
Turns out he should win an Oscar. This is the movie that he's actually getting Oscar buzz for. Yeah, he did win an Oscar before, but this year he's getting Oscar buzz again for this film. He's great in it. I think you will really like Pig, Matt. The Suicide Squad.
I think I would dig Pig.
We did a whole episode about the Suicide Squad special, so we don't have to talk too much about it, except that I thought it was great. It delivered everything I wanted, it hit home for me. It was great stuff. The Night House, another good thing to enjoy for me. Absolutely love that movie. I actually liked it even more the second time I watched it, where some of my misgivings about the very end of it fell away a little bit. And Rebecca Hall should get an Oscar nomination that she will not get, because this is a little scene horror movie. And even if it was a majorly scene horror movie, she still have a hard time.
Yeah, even then, yeah. Because no one from Quiet Place 2 is getting Oscar buzz. So
no. Mitchell's versus the Machines. Just think it's great. I saw it. I got to see it in the theater several months after it came on Netflix for like a, for your consideration type screening. And it was, even better to me the second time. Lord and Miller produced it. It's got kind of the Spider-Verse animation style a little bit. It looks pretty similar.
Oh yeah. That was my good thing to enjoy.
But it's doing its own thing. It's great. It was your good thing to enjoy. I don't have to talk about it too much. West Side Story. I loved it. I had no prior history with West Side Story. I'd never seen it on stage. I'd never seen the original movie. I did know all the songs. I actually didn't even know all the songs were from West Side Story, because they're all so well known. So when they started to break into them, I go, oh, that's what this is from. But I just loved it. That's Steven Spielberg. Speaking of good actors, Steven Spielberg, good director, it turns out.
Yeah.
Yes. And I loved how stylish this was, and the whole feel of it. And I found it emotional and great, and loved how he did everything, and the cast is great. And I agree with people that were upset that it didn't get a nomination for Best Ensemble at the SAG Awards today when the nominations came out. That was weird to me, because it was such a great ensemble. Encanto, you did a very recently a good thing to enjoy. It's great. Everyone's singing. We don't talk about Bruno.
You did that one.
I did
agreed.
That one.
Yes.
Okay, you agreed. And it's ridiculous that they didn't even push it. They didn't even try to get it. We don't talk about Bruno nominated for an Oscar, and but anyway, everyone's loving it, and it's great. And then my two favorite movies of the year, I'd say. So these were not ranked. These were just me, the list. But I will say the two favorite, certainly the two I've seen the most, are Spider-Man No Way Home. Because come on, again, we did a whole episode about it, but it just delivered everything. And it, as we said on that episode, it's so easy to imagine the terrible version of it, or the version that was fun but like kind of empty. And instead, it was great and emotional and had weight for a character we loved.
After watching that a few times, I've seen it 4, which is a lot for me. Tobey Maguire is so good. Like we could do a Tobey Maguire block too. He's a good actor, this guy. And obviously he's most famous for the Spider-Man films, where he had to be he's portraying a certain way in a certain heightened environment. His Peter Parker is definitely very specific. But this felt like a guy who's grown up, like a grown-up man. And some of his line deliveries are just impeccable in this movie.
He's great. The movie just totally works. What a gift that movie was. Probably my favorite movie of the year, although it's back and forth with Spider-Man, is Licorice Pizza. I've seen Spider-Man No Way Home 6 times. I've seen Licorice Pizza 5 times. So we'll see where that lands. But Licorice Pizza, the first time I saw it, I really liked it. But it wasn't until I saw it again that I was like, oh, I do love this movie. Granted, going in, it had a lot going for it that was going to make me. It was my jam.
The fact that it's just San Fernando Valley porn, like
San Fernando Valley porn, 70s, which I didn't realize that I was as into 70s stuff until I thought about it, and I thought about like Dazed and Confused, and just like a lot of stuff where I'm like, I like the vibe and feel of 70s, of that kind of 70s stuff, not the disco, not like that. there's different kinds of 70s stories, but something like Licorice Pizza that's just very like, just living man, like Dazed and Confused was a hangout movie. Love the characters, love the feel of it. I think it's really funny. It's not a perfect movie to me. I think that it does drag in the final like 20 minutes or so. But I just really love it. It makes me happy when I watch it.
I've never seen anyone run in Los Angeles the way I've seen people run in that movie. Yeah. It's like, unless it's a marathon happening, nobody's doing that. Maybe the 70s everyone was running.
Maybe in 70s everyone was running. So those are my 10 favorite movies. And I'm not
gonna poo-poo your absolute favorite movie of the year. I won't get into the Licorice Pizza debate with you right now.
I would love to discuss this, Mike, because I knew you'd seen it, but you hadn't said anything about it. So I was like,
good, some great scenes. Good, not great for me. Some reservations about that movie, but yeah. But I also wasn't gaga over Punch Drunk Love. You know what I mean? Like, it was just. Some of his movies just don't nail it for me.
Strangely, I have never seen Inherent Vice and seen the last of his 70s movies, so I should do that at some point.
You should. You said just say you love the 70s.
I know. Mm-hmm.
All right. My favorite movie of the year is actually Encanto. Already asked and answered. Encanto, Mitchell's versus the Machines. We have a lot of crossover here. Obviously, Spider-Man, No Way Home, Werewolves Within. I liked In the Heights quite a bit. Suicide Squad. I have not seen West Side Story, but I want to. I will. I also really enjoyed Quiet Place 2. I loved The Green Knight.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah. The Green Knight is one of my favorite movies of the year. Just mesmerizing tale of retelling, a reimagining of the Tale of Sir Gawain, which is one of the Arthurian legend tales. If you are into that sort of stuff, really good. I really, really like Power of the Dog, which is getting a lot of Oscar and Golden Globe stuff right now. It'll be a sort of a contender come Oscar season. It was released on Netflix. It's a Jane Campion.
I need to watch. That's like I haven't seen Power. Of course, there's things we both haven't seen.
Oh yeah,
that's one of them. Yeah.
It's basically Benedict Cumberbatch, husband and wife duo of Jesse Plemons and Kirsten Dunst, and then what's his name? The kid from The Road and the American version of Let the Right One In, Let Me In, Cody McPhee or something. Anyway,
I know you're talking about. Yeah,
he's grown up now, so it's sort of the four of them takes place on a ranch in 1920s Montana, and it's based on a book. And I can't recommend it enough. I really enjoyed it. Also, Nobody. I really liked Nobody with Bob Odenkirk. I enjoyed No Sudden Move, which came out at the beginning of the year, which was like a stealth Steven Soderbergh movie, which with an insane cast, because it's a Soderbergh movie, which had Benicio del Toro and Don Cheadle, David Harbour, John Hamm, Brendan Fraser. It's a crazy cast. And it's a crimey movie. Takes place in, what era did that take place in? Like the 30s or something? It's a period crime movie ensemble where it's sort of a twisty turny movie where you're not quite sure. Nobody's treated preciously or like enough of the main character. Don Cheadle would be the main character and Benicio del Toro would be the second. Right. But it's one of those movies where anyone could die at any moment, so you don't know.
Really wanted to see this one. Yeah.
And let's see. I enjoyed No Time to Die. And I think that's Ghostbusters Afterlife, which I already did as a good thing to enjoy. I really enjoyed. Yeah, that's it for me, I guess.
My bullet point follow-ups, and then I have with 2 asterisks are Spencer, Shang-Chi, Bad Trip, Barb and Star, No Time to Die, Candyman, Cruella. I really enjoyed.
Candyman. And Barb and Star. I forgot that was. Those streaming movies, they just sneak up on you.
It's hard, right? Quiet Place Part 2, Minari, which did open this year, and it was my favorite of the Oscar nominees. In the Heights, and you mentioned The Green Knight. I just threw it on. And then my 2 asterisks are Bo Burnham Inside, because is it a movie? But it's not a TV show. But It's great. And I did see it at Alamo Drafthouse. And I just thought it was fantastic. Both times I watched it at home.
That was your good thing to enjoy.
And yeah, that's right. And then my super asterisk, because as you mentioned, when you gave me shit for Psycho Gorman, because in 2020 it played at Beyond Fest, is The Black Phone, which played at Beyond Fest in 2021, and I saw it, and just got delayed from February.
I was going to say,
June.
now I got to wait till June. Yeah.
Right.
But it's only going to be a month.
I loved it, but one day people will see it. So.
Will they? We'll see.
Or will they?
It'll be on a double bill with Morbius.
There you go.
All right. You can find us on the Twitter machine at the Matt Fowler and the Eric Goldman. You can write to us at weenjoy podcast@gmail.com. In fact, I am really curious about this one. And Natural Born Killers is not like some under the radar cult movie of any regard, but it's also 30 years old. You know what I mean? Like it's also an old movie. To you and I, the 90s are still 10 years ago, but that's not the truth. So I am curious of our listeners who may have watched this movie for the first time because of this podcast, what you thought of it, because it is quite a movie to absorb. It is. They don't make them like this.
They don't make them like this.
And I don't know if they ever will again. This was a really a strange, wide release that was a big financial hit, actually. So yeah, I'm curious. Write in about that. But first, we actually have somebody who wrote into the Patreon, and you can be a Patreon patron as well. Patreon.com/We Enjoy Podcast. And for $2 a month, you can get a commercial-free version of this cast. Ben wrote in, and this is going back a little bit back to Hawkeye. Ben writes, I know I'm a little late to this discussion, but I'm starting to think I don't like the 6-episode format of these MCU shows. All of them have left me feeling to some degree that things were rushed and incomplete by the end. In Hawkeye, I found it very hard to swallow Kate's transition from bumbling wannabe superhero to Hawkeye level trick shots in basically one episode. I get that we're told she's an amazing archer and martial artist, but then the first half of the series we're shown that she's not ready to play on Hawkeye's level until an episode later when she suddenly is. So I wonder, now I'm talking as Matt to Eric, I wonder if the 6-episode format, Loki was 6 as well, right?
Yes, they've all been 6 except for WandaVision, which was 9.
Yeah, well, and also What If, which was supposed to be 10 actually, but wound up being 9. But I only mentioned What If because it wound up actually being a serialized show by the end. Because that was the thing. I think we've just actually grown to realize, and this held true with WandaVision as well, which was certainly the most acclaimed and the one Eric and I liked the most out of last year's batch, that the finales are leave us a little bit wanting. You know what I mean? Like they don't feel fully, they're a little half cooked and maybe rushed, and some were due to COVID and production delays and not being able to get everyone back and changing locations and having to rewrite things because the order of the shows are messed up. But yeah, we've come to realize, I think we've all, after this year, really look forward to the 2 episodes before the finale the most, and then kind of like take the finale with a grain of salt, Ben, that, not everything is going to be resolved the way we like it. And in fact, I don't know if Ben listened to the Hawkeye episode we did, but we didn't like the way everything was wrapped up. So
I don't think there's anything intrinsically wrong with the 6 episode as a format. And let's think about the what if of if Hawkeye had been a movie. Well, we would have seen her become great in 2 hours. It would have been a montage. And then she's great. I
think Ben is just arguing for more episodes, right?
Like, I mean, I understand that. But I don't necessarily think they need more. Sometimes it is a matter, though, of maybe just like, thinking about how they place things. And like you mentioned, sometimes their endings haven't landed as strongly as what's come right before it. But that's not, I think, because they only had 6 episodes. I think it's just sort of like maybe,
But what's interesting is that like most of the time, there's 6 episodes of varying lengths.
Yes.
So it's like they could just make episodes longer. Like some that are only 33 minutes, they could make them 43 minutes and add more things in that might appease some people. You know what I mean? Like, these are actual decisions made to make them as long as they are. So
no, it's interesting. Like it so threw me when, not so, but it was surprising to me when the 2nd episode of Boba Fett was 53 minutes. The first was 38 minutes. And then the second was 53, which I checked. I was curious. Only 1 episode of Mandalorian was longer than that, which was the season 2 premiere. So it was already like almost the longest episode of TV that Star Wars has done in this new Disney Plus era. But then the 3rd episode today, I think, went back to 38. So it's just like, I mean, I totally get on one hand, that's kind of cool. Like we make the episode as long as we feel we need to make it. We don't have to worry. But I also know that it kind of fucks with the audience because then there is an intrinsic thing of feeling cheated when some of the episodes are 45 minutes or 53 minutes, that when you get that 37-minute one, you're like, huh.
Yeah. And like, especially if you wind up at the end of the season wishing there had been more something. And you're like, there was room. There was definitely room. Okay, let's get into we should actually, I don't know. We didn't do anything for the Boba Fett TV show, like our thoughts on the premiere or so on, because it happened over the break. I guess we'll just do sort of a wrappy wrap when it all
we'll do a full season
shuts down. We also didn't do anything on Dexter New Blood. I don't know. I guess I don't want to spoil things for people because this is, for now, the ending of Dexter, but I don't know if that was
I think we can keep this succinct and just say we both really liked it as two people who, I hope I'm not speaking for you incorrectly.
No. I like the season as a whole, and I like the ending. So yeah.
Same here. And as you've mentioned, if you treat it just purely as a do-over, as we made a bad ending, here's our chance to redo it. It's such a better, the season in general just was so much stronger than Dexter season 8. So I'm glad to have enjoyed Dexter again,
Yes, I agree. And could they make more? Yes, there's room for things, but should they? That's another question.
Yeah.
We know that it was a huge hit for Showtime, who hasn't really had I haven't seen a actual emailed press release about ratings for Showtime in years. So
right.
And I got one for Dexter. So, all right, let's head into our main event cycle. But first, good things to enjoy. Eric, kick us off again.
Hold on, I have to get back to what I remind myself. Oh, speaking of Showtime, great transition, Matt. Great.
And this made for, I'm told, a wonderful double bill with Dexter New Blood for the past couple months, except for the fact that I actually just binged all of this show last week to catch up. So yeah.
Right.
So I wasn't enjoying that double bill.
Right. I binged. It's funny. I watched this show in 2 binge chunks because I watched the first 4 months ago. When they gave it to us for TCA in the summer, and then I didn't watch any more until last week. But I loved my 2 binge bunches. So Yellow Jackets, which, it's very true, Matt, that we have not gotten any ratings touting press releases from Showtime until Dexter New Blood for many years, and certainly Yellow Jackets is not giving them any yet. But I think there's a lot of potential there, because while TV Twitter is fawning, everyone's going crazy over this show. I don't know how mainstream it's gotten yet, but I think the buzz, no pun intended, buzz is very real for this show, and I think it will benefit from people binging it now that it's about to air its finale this weekend. But anyway, I love the show, it's one of those shows where I don't want to say. I think you can say that the basic premise being it takes place in 2 timelines. In 1996, I believe, is that the year that the show begins in?
Yep.
1996, a girls' soccer team at a high school are on their way to the championships, and they crash land in remote Canadian wilderness. And we know from the beginning they are not going to be found for 19 months. We know from the beginning that crazy, dark, macabre shit ended up happening out there during those 19 months, because we get a quick glimpse of it at the top. And then we have the show is following 2 timelines. What happened after the crash in 1986 and what's happening now in the present with some of the girls, some of the survivors that were eventually saved, what their lives are like, and secrets from the past that, of course, we are slowly seeing what those secrets from the past are. Of course, there's, you've mentioned, even when we talked about Natural Born Killers and doing it, kind of the fun thing of it stars 2 90s it girls who both were known for kind of playing dark and edgy.
And who never starred with each other in anything.
Never worked together.
Yeah.
Juliette Lewis and Christina Ricci are kind of the 2 biggest names going into this, although the 2 other actresses have worked a ton, but especially Melanie Linsky, who's given fantastic performances in a million different things, and Tawny Cypress, who I think most people would know from Heroes, is the 4th lead. And you got the 4 of them. You got the girls in the past. It is I mentioned on Twitter today, It is a funny week where there's just a serendipity of crossover of the fact the Yellow Jackets finale is airing this weekend, and two of the they're not really teenagers because it's TV, but two of the girls playing teens are in very high profile things this week. Jasmine Savoy Brown is in Scream, and Sophie Thatcher made her debut on Book of Boba Fett today as a character that is clearly going
as
to be
Robert Rodriguez's second attempt to do Alita Battle Angel.
Yes. Anyway, the show is really, it's whacked out and crazy, and because it's like from the beginning we're like, what exactly happened? Is this cannibalism? We don't know.
It's sort of like Lord of the Flies with a high school female soccer team.
Yeah,
but it's got all the great elements for an ongoing series that really hooks you and drives like the Twitter machine, which is like, it's a mystery. And I'm glad you are recommending this, because if you didn't this week, I would recommend it next week, because my show is actually also airing its finale this week as well. It just times out right. But Jasmine Savoy Brown, also from The Leftovers.
Oh yeah.
So
I mentioned that to her. I threw in a gratuitous love of Leftovers mention, Matt, at the end of my interview with her for Scream.
Oh, good. So, but it's got like what's happening in the present day 25 years later with the survivors, but where there's also potential for shocks and twists in that timeline, and also the unfurling secrets of the past, which our adult versions of these characters they've taken a pact of secrecy,
right?
Like no one is to speak of what happened in the past. So that sets up a present day where no one is just blurting out everything that happened, because they all shut the fuck up about it. So that way we can enjoy the past flashbacks as they sort of coincide with each episode. And I was one of those people, Eric, who it took me till probably episode 3 or 4 when I realized it wasn't a mini series, because I was like, because there was a few time jumps, and then it's like, okay, we're not going to get to the unless there's a massive time jump. We're not going to get to the end of the 19 months here by the end of this. And so it is a series meant to continue on. And I think I mentioned last week, one of the reasons I picked Natural Born Killers, there were a few. One was because I was just watching Juliette Lewis, who I hadn't seen in anything for a long while. And then remembering Natural Born Killers.
Yep. No, it's really fun. Like you said,
I'll just say one of the biggest early twists of this show for me was that Christina Ricci was not playing the grown-up version of Jackie, played by Ella Purnell, because of their eyes.
Yeah.
I saw her and I was like, oh, that's going to be Christina Ricci later. And then I was like, no.
That was a little bit of purposeful manipulation there. But it's a great show for the Twitter machine, like you said, because it's fueled by mystery. It's fueled by shocking moments. It's fueled like, holy shit, did that just happen? Mostly in the flashback, but sometimes in the present. There's like plenty of room for speculation. Like this is a show that is perfect for a weekly release because it's all about people theorizing and probably going down crazy rabbit holes that the show will not touch. But
it's also a 90s show. So Eric and I can revel in the needle drops in the past, which are a lot of fun.
There's been some great ones, and now I'm blanking. There was a couple that I specifically wanted to mention to you, and now I'm blanking on them. Damn it!
Well, they got they had Portishead, they had they had a lot of cool things.
Anyway, it's good stuff. I have not watched the finale yet, but I've very much enjoyed the 9 of 10 episodes I've seen.
Okay. We're going to get into 90s music too here in our main event with Natural Born Killers. My good thing to enjoy is something that I actually mentioned last week also, because when I was talking about my favorite TV shows of the year, which is Station 11, which is way less, I think it's a little bit talked about. I know some people I follow are big fans of it as well. But yeah, speaking of the Showtime, speaking of The Leftovers and Jasmine Savoy Brown, for those of you out there who loved The Leftovers as much as Eric and I did and are missing The Leftovers, you can get your maudlin
sweet misery,
but also tinged with rapturous joy and beauty and humor that Leftovers found more in its second and third season. in a miniseries. This is actually a miniseries called Station 11, based on a book by Emily St. John Mandel, and which won what is that? The Arthur C. Clarke Award for Best Sci-Fi Novel. And I have to admit, when I saw the log line for this show back when I was doing like a fall preview piece, I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me? This sounds awful. Like what? Like why now?" It is definitely
that's what a lot of people's
the wrong show for the wrong era, if I ever heard one, because it is literally about a flu pandemic that wipes out most of humanity.
Right.
But if I tell you that they could do that and make it feel like The Leftovers' best tonal balance, and that it's actually like Yellow Jackets, a show that takes place in two different timelines. The fall of man during the first 100 days of the pandemic, following various characters, and then 20 years later, seeing the ruin of basically mankind has become everything's reclaimed by nature. Everyone's back to sort of like nomadic tribal living in very small villages, and it's basically a zombie apocalypse without the zombies. It's like that kind of thing,
right?
And it follows a character we meet as a little girl in the past. It follows her as an adult who's part of a traveling group of artists called the Traveling Symphony, who it takes them a year. Every year they circle Lake Michigan and perform Shakespeare for the towns. And so they do one play a year, and and they hit every town, and that's what they do. And so for a couple decades now, they've been traveling around and performing very specifically Shakespeare, nothing else. And the show stars Mackenzie Davis as the grown-up version of Kirsten, and you would know her from Blade Runner 2049 and *Halt and Catch Fire*, and the Black Mirror episode, Black Mirror standout episode, San Junipero. And and Matilda Lawler as the younger version of her in the past,
as the young Mrs. Dalloway.
As the young Natasha McElhone is actually in this as the young Mrs. Dalloway. Gail Garcia Bernal is in it. Lori Petty's in it. It's got some great like guest stars like David Cross and Enrico Colantoni and man, what's his name from Veep, who played
Tony Hale.
No, just name all the Veep players. No, Timothy Simons, isn't that his name?
Yes.
And it's got Himesh Patel, who I only had seen, to my knowledge, before this in Tenet, which is a very recent movie. So there are parts of this movie that definitely feel kind of like Last of Us-ish, because this young girl basically gets paired up with this guy played by Himesh Patel, and together they sort of survive the apocalypse together, the flu-demic. But it follows a bunch of characters. Anyway, I highly recommend the show. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. It's just the right amount of pretentious. It's like pitch perfect in its like teetering on being too depressing, but also euphoric at the same time. And and so I should say it's created by Patrick Somerville, who adapted the book into a TV series. And he wrote like 4 or 5 episodes of The Leftovers. So that's perfectly teed up to give us that vibe that we miss.
It's on my list. There was an imaginary world where I wasn't busy this week, where I was going to try to binge it this week before the finale. But yeah, it has like lower level buzz, which is to say I hear a lot of positive stuff about it. But it's like a much smaller group. Like Yellow Jackets is kind of spread across TV, and Twitter,
and like Leftovers, Eric. I can't remember if I said this airs on HBO Max or not, but it airs on HBO Max, and the finale is, I believe, tomorrow. We're recording this Wednesday night, so I think it's Thursday. I don't ever think this was meant to be a hit. I don't know, like. Maybe it would have garnered critical acclaim to the point where it could have won some awards, but this was never going to be like a ratings bonanza. This thing, it's just not designed to be by the nature of its story and its storytelling, and the way it's sort of stream of consciousness at some points and dreamlike and just beautiful. Okay, that's my pick. Let's see here.
Good.
All right, let me see what you picked for next week, Eric. Bonnie and Clyde. All right. So we could have gone a few ways with Natural Born Killers and thematically what comes next in our main event. We could have followed Woody Harrelson or Juliette Lewis or Tommy Lee Jones or Robert Downey Jr. or Oliver Stone, but we decided to do killer duos and basically go back to sort of the roots of this genre. And Bonnie and Clyde is next week.
Is this going to be the oldest movie that we're done as the main event? I think it will be.
No, did this come out before the computer wore tennis shoes?
I think it did. I think it was earlier in the 60s.
All right.
By a few years. Yeah.
So this is Warren Beatty and Faye Dunaway and Gene Hackman. And who else is in
Marin Dungy's least favorite boss, Faye Dunaway. Did you see that on Twitter?
Her least favorite who?
Boss,
Faye Dunaway.
Yeah.
What were they in together?
Well, they were in Alias, but that's incidental to the fact that someone did a tweet about like, do you have like a horrible job? And she said, Marin Dungy, who you know as Francie on Alias, tweeted, I was Faye Dunaway's personal assistant for 3 months until I quit that bitch, and made a joke about why you're saying quit that bitch. and then it was funny because Sepinwall and I were talking because I pointed out that she was on Alias, and then he's like, well, she was still on it. I go, yes, and she'd already been asked about that and said that she thought that was she loved it or something, or maybe I don't know. I just want to know what the table they didn't have scenes together, but Faye Dunaway did 3 episodes.
I'm just upset that you didn't say Marin Dungy, Kevin Ryder's girlfriend.
I only found that out very recently and was shocked. And a lot of people don't know.
Well, you didn't hear about how it all came together because I listened to the Allie and Bean podcast.
I know. Allie told me that I should have listened to hear this whole no one, there's so many people who are like,
this is old news. And this goes back to like when Kevin was on, when Bean had a day off. So Kevin came on as actually a co-host for one of the episodes, and a woman was heard in the background. And then when he said he had a trip planned and he was going with someone special, he got real cagey about who it was. And literally it was probably like 4 days later that they just decided to say who it was. But yeah. All right. People are listening. No idea what we're talking about. Okay.
I have no context for any of that. Sorry.
All right. Bonnie and Clyde next week, which is also on HBO Max.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Natural Born Killers, Eric.
Yes.
God damn, I love this movie. I loved it when it came out. Like, obviously, I loved it when it came out. I was in film school in the stupid 90s. And
we were like alternative rock kids in the 90s. We were going to, and film students. So we were going to love.
We were going to love this movie no matter what. Actually, this came out before I was in film school because I didn't start that till 95. But I was trying to go to film school at UCLA at the time. 1994's Natural Born Killers, Eric. Again, I want people to write in and tell us what they think of this movie if they've seen it for the first time. Because
I had the same curiosity, because I should say I fucking love this movie when it came out. I watched it a million times, and then I didn't see it for maybe 20 years until a couple years ago. I saw it, I think at Beyond Fest, in fact. I'll
with PG Psycho Gorman,
not with PG Psycho Gorman, with Oliver Stone, Juliette Lewis, Woody Harrelson, and Don Murphy, the producer, doing a Q&A after, which kind of hilariously went off the rails. But seeing it that night was like, oh wow, I still love this movie. That's great, because it's been a while since I saw it. So that was my
and I'm assuming like me, you have a lot of the lines of this movie memorized because you've seen it so many times, but also because the Natural Born Killers soundtrack was one of those big ass 90s movie soundtracks that had quotes from the movie in it. So there are certain quotes that happen right before a song plays that are as much of a part of the song as the song itself for me and Eric because of that soundtrack. And because we listen to it all the time. But yeah, like the whole, what did you think if this was your first time seeing it question? Just because I get it if people are, this just isn't for them then and now.
I was watching it thinking, wow, this is like a loud movie with a lot of yelling. This is a Jonah Krakow yelling "shut up" movie at a couple points. Like there's a lot of like screaming and yelling.
Well, especially when you've got like the Tommy Lee Jones, Robert Downey Jr. crazy off at the end of this film, where they're all they're both just overacting the fuck out of every scene, purposely so. A much
Did you
more
see my
enjoyable
Twitter question a couple hours ago? Or I asked on Twitter, do you think Tommy Lee Jones sanctioned Robert Downey Jr.'s buffoonery when they worked together on this movie? And then it was pointed out to me they worked together again on U.S. Marshals, which would have been a movie Tommy Lee Jones would have had full veto.
Sanctioned is buffoonery?
You know that famous quote, right?
No.
Matt, you don't know this. You don't know this story?
Is it from Psycho Gorman?
No. It's Jim Carrey. I believe he told this story on Norm Macdonald's podcast about how much Tommy Lee Jones hated him when they made Batman Forever.
Oh, yeah. Well, especially because Tommy Lee Jones was trying to be cartoonish and he was getting outshined. Yeah.
Right. And we already knew that. And Schumacher had talked about that and said Tommy Lee Jones treated Jim Carrey horribly and all this stuff. But Jim Carrey told the story of, he just said in general that it was very tense on the set and this and that. And he said it came to a head for him when during shooting, he went to, like, he had the night off. He was at a restaurant eating and Tommy Lee Jones happened to be there. Like they happened to be eating. I don't remember, actually, I should say, I don't remember if this was mid-shoot or right before they were going to start filming. But he decided to go over and say hello to his co-star and got a very sort of curt reaction and just kind of confirming that this guy just didn't like him. And he asked him point blank, like, what's your deal? What's your problem with me? And he said, Tommy Lee Jones said, I cannot sanction your buffoonery. It has become a meme-ified thing. You can buy t-shirts to say I cannot sanction your buffoonery. But it seems like Tommy Lee Jones sanctioned Robert Downey Jr.'s buffoonery because he worked with him again on U.S. Marshals, where he would have been able to veto.
It's just weird that happens in a movie where Tommy Lee Jones is also being a buffoon.
I know. Well, he couldn't sanction it, but he was like, I'm going to defeat him by going further with my.
His Dwight McCluskey was a much more enjoyable Two-Face than Two-Face was, so I'll say that. But I believe those are the only two performances of Tommy Lee Jones I've ever seen go off the rails like that. Everything else, he's the straight man, the stoic, dry delivery guy. Yeah, this one, he and Downey Jr. both turn it up to 21. And while strangely, in this, and we're talking about the prison, the second half of the movie, or maybe the third act of the movie, the prison sequence, Woody Harrelson and Juliette Lewis aren't. They play things straight, and they're the killers, and it's the other people who are ridiculous around them for the most part.
Right. Although, of course, the whole movie, just like cinematically, visually speaking, is a crazy movie.
It is a crazy movie. In fact, that's the first note I have here is this is a crazy movie, which is so, okay. So this is a movie that is put together like a 90s MTV music video in the sense that it's all different types of film stock. It's color, it's black and white, it's animation, it's Dutch tilts, it's intercutting images, quick cut images of like animals and dead animals and nature and violence and people's evil selves laughing and
animation, projection.
There's projections on shirts and on buildings and like outside windows as the view, and everything is super, super stylized. And I'm trying to think the last time we saw a movie anywhere close to this. Now in the 90s, Greg Araki did movies that were kind of in a similar vein, that were kind of purposely surreal, but those were like super low budget art house cult movies like Nowhere and Doom Generation. This was a giant release. This was a big studio film that was made for, I had a hefty budget of over 30 million, but it made over $100 million. It had a huge soundtrack. This was in no way a missed opportunity movie. It came out there. It was polarizing with critics. So I think it only has like 50% on Rotten Tomatoes. Not that you and I were paying attention to anything like that back then, but
also it shows the superpowers Oliver Stone had at the time. not that he was alone. It does show what a different time we were in movies, where of course everyone's bemoaning now how you can't kind of make a hit without being like a franchise film right now. But at the time when you could have like marquee directors, and if you watch the trailer to this movie, it's so fascinating because the trailer, which is very heavy-handed, is like Platoon, Wall Street, Born on the 4th of July, JFK. Oliver Stone has redefined how we've seen the past. Now he's going to look at the present and towards the future. So it is selling you on, this is the new Oliver Stone project. It shows clips from all those movies I just mentioned, which weren't all made by Warner Brothers. So they were paying for these clips or getting licensed for the clips. So it's just crazy to think about. Like, again, he kind of peaked around this point, because if you look at what he did after Nixon, Evita, U-Turn, Any Given Sunday, some of those were hits, some weren't, but it was that, early 90s.
I mean, we're talking about like the 90s run of like Ron Howard, Rob Reiner, like these directors that were like hot for like 4 or 5 movies.
Yep.
And
then, it was like, oh yeah, they just
never could quite match that window. But still, if you can get a 5 movie run, like, yeah, Platoon, which was won the Oscar, Wall Street, which also won Oscars, Talk Radio, which was well regarded, Born on the 4th of July, which was a big Oscar movie, JFK, huge. One of my favorite movies actually of all time is JFK.
Yep.
And I believe in JFK are some of the editing choices, the stylized editing choices
starting there
that you see now.
Sure. Yeah.
Again, amped up to the nth degree here in JFK. But yeah, sorry, in Natural Born Killers. But JFK started a lot of that type of some of his interesting shots, his repetition of lines. But anyway, going back to my original point, the last time I remember a film being really interestingly presented in a very super stylized way that's actually a straightforward movie was Man on Fire.
Yeah.
Tony Scott with Man on Fire, and then the other movie he did that was very much the exact same style that had Keira Knightley in it as a bounty hunter.
Oh, Domino?
Yes.
Which I haven't seen.
Domino and Man on Fire were both done in the same way, which is like the different film stocks and the quick cuts and the playing around with repetition of lines and bits of dialogue and quick flashbacks and stuff like that, imageries intercut. That's the last time I remember any type of big Hollywood release movie doing something like that. But even then, it was like a pale shade compared to what's going on in Natural Born Killers. And let's talk about the 2 leads. Woody Harrelson, we mentioned a little bit last week, coming off of a hugely successful Emmy winning, and I don't know if he ever won, but he was nominated for sure for Cheers. He was a TV sitcom guy, and back then there was even there's barely a divide nowadays, but there was a huge divide between TV star and movie star back then.
And he'd had, this is after White Men Can't Jump, so it's like that had been like a success. But it was still like, okay, it's playing in his lane, goofy comedy. And he was in Doc Hollywood in a supporting part.
So TV stars could do comedies, like they were allowed to do that. It was very rare that they were able to become action stars, which is why Bruce Willis was such a out of left field star. And get into drama was another huge thing that TV stars tried to do. But right after White Man Can't Jump, he was in another hit. He was in Indecent Proposal. So Woody Harrelson was making a jump already that a lot of stars could not, that Ted Danson couldn't do, that a lot of TV stars could not do. And he was actively also trying to play against type. Woody Harrelson, a little bit of darkness in this guy too. He's got, his past, his father was a notorious hitman. This is Woody Harrelson. This is what he had to grow up with. So there's a reason why maybe sometimes he's leaning into these dark personas, but literally this and like People versus Larry Flint, which came after, were these triumphs for Woody Harrelson as a dramatic actor.
But a really impressive career that this helped solidify, because you look at what he would do in just a couple years after this, because he would do People versus Larry Flint, but he'd also do Kingpin after this.
Which is, so maybe, maybe that's our first comedy, Eric, that we do in the main event.
He is able to this day to live in both worlds. to like do Zombieland and to do True Detective. And it's just like, it is a very rare career he's had, that he has like distinct personas that like, oh, we want like a scary, dangerous guy, Woody Harrelson. We want a goofy, like, oh shucks guy, Woody Harrelson. It's very impressive. I often think about that with his career because it's pretty rare.
And like, he got in franchises too. Like, so he was in the Hunger Games movies, and he was in a Star War, and now he's been in a Sony Marvel film, which is
MCU
pretty terrible
by association. He's technically
and he was in those two Now You See Me movies where I liked the first one. So this guy anyway. And Juliette Lewis, like you already mentioned when you were talking about Yellow Jackets, big 90s heyday for her. Mm-hmm. I had no idea that her dad was that guy who looks like that. That guy who's in everything. Her dad is an actor who is very recognizable in many, many things. And I was like, oh, that guy. Her dad is what's his name? Jeffrey Lewis, who is in, first of all, he was in Jean-Claude Van Damme's Double Impact, which is huge. But yeah, he's been in he's been in
I see that. He is that guy. Yeah.
Look at his face. Look at that dude's face. He's that guy.
Yeah, I recognize that guy.
Stage, TV, and screen, Jeffrey Lewis. Juliette Lewis is one of those interesting actresses who she did a bunch of TV. She sort of gained huge prominence in Who's Eating Gilbert Grape, and then got nominated for an Academy Award because of Cape Fear.
Right.
Then,
which is a perfect transition movie for her. Also, she was in Christmas Vacation.
She was the third Audrey. Yeah,
Audrey 3. But Cape Fear, where she, the role was literally an innocent where the villain is trying to corrupt her. Like, she is an innocent teenager in the middle of this fucked up dark movie, and literally the villain's trying to like corrupt her and seduce her. And
as we're doing,
gave her her step towards the 90s.
Killer couples. I do want to do. Obviously, next week is Bonnie and Clyde, but at some point I do want to do California, which is a movie that I always thought was interesting. Strangely, came out the year before this movie. It's Juliette Lewis in another killer couple role, a different movie. It's her and Brad Pitt though.
Yeah,
and David Duchovny and God, what's her name? Michelle Forbes.
Yep.
Directed by Dominic Sena, who would become a big action star director later. But after this, she would just start playing grown-ups. There's Strange Days and
Until From Dusk Till
Dawn, when she got turned into a teenager again, which was so weird.
Well, but Drew Barrymore did the same thing in Scream, of that, like, let's reverse where our career has been going. So.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
It happens. Right. It's funny.
Okay. And so we already mentioned Tommy Lee Jones, who had sort of burst onto the scene because of The Fugitive. Like,
I mean, well, he'd been on the scene.
I'm saying like
yeah,
it's kind of like the James Cromwell effect, which is like he'd been a working actor and
a working character actor becomes a star. But Tommy Lee Jones is much bigger than James Cromwell as far as like really affected his career. Like, he was now a leading man because of
he could headline a movie for sure.
Yeah.
Robert Downey Jr.'s career up until this point had ebbed and flowed. Like teen star, had been in movies, had ups and downs with drugs and so on, and so this was some of his quirky character work. Because I do remember by the time he and Tommy Lee Jones started again together, Tommy Lee Jones was a huge star headlining U.S. Marshals, and it felt like Robert Downey Jr. was lucky to be getting a part.
Right, yeah, and because well-documented drug problems that kept someone who everyone knew was very talented, was like, very hurting his career, hurting his hireability, and so he was not becoming the leading man he could have been because of that. This movie is a couple years after Soap Dish, which we didn't mention is getting a TV show with Whoopi Goldberg reprising her role. I pray, I don't know if you saw that news.
No, I saw the Soap Dish news. I didn't know Whoopi Goldberg.
Yeah, but I pray she's not the only one who reprised her role. Get them all.
I mean, yeah, get Kevin Kline and Sally Field and Elizabeth Shue. Elizabeth Shue will come back for anything now. So,
well, she came back to it after it was a well-established.
It was. So maybe season 3 of Soap Dish, the show, we'll get Elizabeth Shue back. And the last person I'll mention here of the core cast is Tom Sizemore, who my heart of hearts always wants to pair up with Tarantino, but he really isn't a Tarantino player. He was in True Romance saying Tarantino dialogue, but he is not. He was in a lot of movies actually before this, worked with Oliver Stone and Born on the 4th of July already, was in True Romance the year before this, Strange Days with Juliette Lewis the year after this, also Heat the year after this, and then Saving Private Ryan. So well-known, just sort of crime movie guy, character actor who plays Jack
Sleazy Cop is his lane, for sure. But this is the first. So you just mentioned Tarantino, which has been kind of the big thing we haven't mentioned yet, which is the fact that this was a Tarantino script. He is a story by credit, of course, on the final film, but this was one of the big calling card scripts for Tarantino, along with True Romance and Reservoir Dogs, that kind of got him in the door, that everyone was like buzzing about, and that could have been his movie he directed. If things had turned out differently, we would have gotten a very low budget Natural Born Killers directed by Tarantino. Instead, he sold the script, and it was completely rewritten under Oliver Stone's guidance. And they have traded barbs through the years because you have two very egotistical men. And of course, for Tarantino, he ruined my script. And for Oliver Stone, it's like, I made it great. And they're very,
I side with the latter because I love the movie, right? So what else can I say? It's kind of like when Stephen King hates The Shining, but you're like, but The Shining is awesome,
Right. Have you ever read the Natural Born Killers script?
No. But you can go online for those who are interested, and someone will explain, like, go into detail about the differences between Tarantino's version and Oliver Stone's version. Oliver Stone really wanted to up the tabloid elements of it and focus more on Mickey and Mallory. I know that Tarantino's version had a more lengthy trial.
Right. The main thing, because I read it like 20 years ago, it was eventually released in book form. After, and actually Tarantino had to fight for that legally with the owners of the movie, because it was like, well, you sold the movie, you can't put out the script, but he eventually won. But my biggest memory of the huge difference, because of course there's a lot of differences, and Oliver Stone putting in so much more like media sort of satire, but structurally, is that Tarantino's script, the lead characters are Mickey and Wayne, with the Downey character. Mallory's in it, but it much more feels like Wayne. It is funny because I know I'm contradicting myself. Like, Oliver Stone put in more media satire. Tarantino's script, one of the main characters was the media guy. It's just it played different. It wasn't because he wasn't trying to do it for the same way. And so I just remember, like, Wayne, there's a lot more with him throughout the script, and he kind of feels like the co-headliner with Mickey.
Oliver Stone's decision to turn this into a psychotic cartoon is ultimately what makes this movie work. I can obviously envision a Tarantino talkie version of this movie, but the fact that this is a blood-soaked acid trip and is meant to be disorienting from the first frame of the movie is Oliver Stone's vision. So it's hard to go back. It's always hard to go back and be like, what could have been, because what we got was so, like, even if you just don't like it and it's polarizing, it is unique to a degree that's almost unparalleled. Like, it is its own thing. You can't argue that. The other big name here at the time, and still a big name to this day in music, is Trent Reznor, who has actually gotten into actual film scoring, right, as opposed to just putting together like a collage of music for a soundtrack, which so he and Oliver Stone put together the soundtrack. There are Nine Inch Nails tracks on the soundtrack, including an excellent one of the best Nine Inch Nails songs, Burn, written for the movie itself. But you also hear Something I Can Never Have and a few other ones. But then the
soundtrack being very like the visual style of collage.
It's overlapping, all over the place, from three Leonard Cohen songs to a Patti Smith song, Bob Dylan, Cowboy Junkies, to Patsy Cline, to Dr. Dre, and the Dog Pound, like, so there's gangster rap, there's grunge, L7's Shit List. L7, a great band. People don't really talk about this.
Well, I saw in
days.
concert many times. Yeah.
Yes, I saw them at a you must have been there with
we
me.
saw them together.
Lollapalooza.
Yeah. But I saw them a couple other times. Yeah.
And great soundtrack and a bit of a bump for Mr. Leonard Cohen as well, who had been around for a while, but like this sort of introduced him to a new generation, and his songs are some of the most notable parts as far as like opening scene and credits, and a very notable moment in the prison when they play one of his songs as well. So yeah. Right? Isn't that the one when like they're escaping and McCluskey's yelling at him? Isn't that Leonard Cohen as well? Sounds like it.
Can't remember. Maybe.
I'll have to look it up. All right. And Jane's Addiction in a very amusing murdering Balthazar Getty scene. Okay. Their song Ted Just Admit It, which is about Ted Bundy. All right. I don't know how to actually go through this movie because we're going to be all over the place like this movie, but let's start at the start, which is to say that if you're not in on this movie within the first 3 minutes, you're not going to enjoy this movie, because they're like, they're going to bring you in, they're going to drop you in the deep end, and they're going to be like, this is the movie. And I remember seeing this in the theater being like, what the fuck? Like the diner scene and the different angles and just the violence. And I think it didn't quite hit me until Mickey shoots the bullet and it goes, you see the bullet cam and there's that sort bit of opera, right? Yeah. And then it hits and I'm like, oh,
it stops in front of the person first.
This is a crazy movie.
This is a crazy movie.
And we should note here that Eric and I have watched the theatrical cut and not the director's cut, which has an alternate ending.
Yeah, I think we both watched the director's cut, I'm assuming.
Yeah, and which apparently Dennis Leary and Bret Hart are inmates.
Yes, so, I saw that too today for the first time.
I was like, all right, okay. But I'll only say that in this diner scene, you see a flash in one of the booths of a character who's sitting there and then disappears, played by Arliss Howard. And he plays a character named Owen who shows up at the end of the movie and helps Mickey and Mallory escape. And he is supposed to be a guardian angel / he's credited also in the credits as the demon, who which is a line that's or a word that's mentioned a lot in this movie. And the alternate ending, is it the original ending, I think, is that Owen kills Mickey and Mallory. So it's kind of like Mickey and Mallory meet their end at the hands of just another random psychopath in the way that their victims met them.
Right. And because in this version, he just vanishes. Like he helps them escape.
And he does say, like, they kept the line in, I just want you to take me with you.
Yeah.
And the original ending is they take him with them and he kills them. So they changed it because Oliver Stone felt that he wanted a perversely happy ending where they, you get glimpses of them actually having a family in this RV and stuff like that. It starts with Mickey, Mallory in a diner eating key lime pie and a big glass of non-fat milk, and them killing some assholes and maybe a few non-assholes in there.
And if you look closely, like the paper Mickey's reading, it says Mickey and Mallory kill 6 teens at slumber party. So it's like, these are not like vigilante or even like killing assholes. Like they, even though there's plenty of them killing assholes, like peppered in here is like, no, they just kill. I mean,
they are indiscriminate predators who we don't have the luxury of saying like, oh, I like them because they only kill people I don't like.
Right.
There's no safety net in this movie for them. They're not Dexter. They're not, anti-heroes in a certain regard, which makes the fan adoration for them even more farcical and perverse and over the top, because by the end of their 3 weeks of terror down Route 66, they've killed 50 or 52 people or something like that. And at some points they'll say, oh, they just walked into a store and killed everyone in the store.
Right.
And there are people they're random people they literally take hostage, women they take hostage in their room and probably torture.
Yep.
And so this stems from couples like Bonnie and Clyde, and then also Badlands and other movies. And there's really and we'll get into Mallory and Mickey's backstory and the sitcom elements of it. But because of their past trauma and their abuse, they adopt this very, very hard line, us against the world policy. We are ride or die together. But in this case, it's literally like, we're not going to wait for somebody to be rude to us even to kill them. We are literally going on a murder spree. We are angry, and we just have no empathy or love for anyone except each other. That's the only thing. And I guess at the end of this movie, we're to believe that they've ditched it all behind because they were going to stop killing.
Right.
And Wayne was the last one. We don't know, but they are certainly not designed to be likable people. But in this era of, as we mentioned, the televised trials and the villains and the sensationalized aspect of the media, just being notorious, despite also being a monster, is enough to get you worldwide. And in this case, because people in other countries love Mickey and Mallory, they think they're so cool. Worldwide adoration. Yeah.
All that stuff is really well done. Even in the misses, like you said, it's like it doesn't let you off the hook. Yes, like Mickey is like the nastier of the two, but Mallory's right there with him. It's like she gets like in that scene where, they reveal the girl tied up in the corner, and she kind of gets pissed off because he's staring at the girl too much. But it's not like she's like, this is horrible. She's just like, she feels jealous, And then even the scene where she kills Balthazar Getty, which is a scene where she's kind of upset and feeling like, like I said, jealous and maybe overlooked. And then has this weird scene where she seduces Balthazar Getty, and I'm like, sucky night for him at the gas station.
Yeah. And again, we're talking about pre-Columbine here, which we just discussed briefly when talking about the Scream trilogy, because of how it affected Scream 3. Affected a lot of things. Affects things to this day. Mm-hmm. Actually, our entire culture does, because school shootings, which would affect something like Heathers, and then episodes of Buffy, or things that takes place in a high school. School shootings have obviously affected things about young people and violence, but also mass shootings in public places and stores, like what Mickey and Mallory are doing, is like, that is also something that you have to be very sensitive about portraying now. And I don't think 2021 audiences would be open to a slapstick satire, basically cold-hearted farce about that subject, because it's become such a tragic way of life for us in our country. And so this movie could only be made at this time because of what happened. And I'm sure there are, dissertations and arguments and everything made about like me, art affects real life and media affects real life, or real life affects media and vice versa. But there's an argument to be made that, the way Dwight hears a quiet prison and knows that something's up, and he's like, something's wrong with the prisoners, they're going to go crazy because you can hear a pin drop in here. People, directors and artists like Oliver Stone could sort of see the direction our country was going, I think. Mm-hmm. So there's a predictive element to this as well. Predictive element of some really sucky, horrible things that became of our country.
I mean, clearly, because the movie's obviously operating at satire, like you mentioned, with like the news footage of like people across the world love Mickey and Mallory, who are just evil killers. But of course, the movie trades in. They are cool, cinematically speaking. Like they are given, like they
look cool. Their outfits are cool.
They look cool. Rage Against the Machine comes on when he starts killing prison guards.
Right.
And in a scene that I well remember, Matt, when I went to see this movie with, again, 5 years before Columbine, and these guys were not psychopaths and never did anything bad. But I went to see this movie with two of my classmates, Emerson, who were too like dark as an edgy, just like into dark shit. trench coat wearing guys, and they'd seen the movie already a million times, so would I. And when Rage Against the Machine came on, they started headbanging, and it was like, because this was like a rock and roll movie, like this was so it's that weird thing. Of
but they also did that with Patsy Cline, so that was weird too.
They did do that shit. It's 100% satirical, and it is saying like, look at this fucked up world of like what we're glorifying, but in the midst of glorifying Mickey Mallory, who are became pop culture icons themselves. That's kind of inevitable. That's kind of
and I am also wondering how much this movie sort of predicted open world first person shooters, where like I could ride through a town on my horse in Red Dead Redemption 2 and in villain mode or whatever and shoot up the entire town, or obviously Grand Theft Auto before it, as far as like just going crazy, because right after they kill everyone in that diner, La Vie en Rose plays and the lights go dark and there's a spotlight on them, and they are like the only two people in the world. And that's how they see each other, which means that everyone else is an NPC. Right. They are the only two people playing this game, the only two people that matter. And everyone else is expendable to the point where they're not even real. And we would get into that with what our some of our video games would become too, where you could be Mickey and Mallory going down the street.
Yeah, and like you said, I'm glad you mentioned that moment, because like I mean, I think Harrelson and Lewis are both great in this movie, and it's like, in that part when the one guy they leave alive, and they're like, say our names, Mickey and Mallory, to tell everyone, and he says it, and then after he says it, she like has this like cute little smile, like she's so happy, like he said our names and I love you, Mickey. And it's very endearing, which of course is deceptive because they just murdered a bunch of people, some of them very innocent people in this diner. And so it has an interesting relationship with its own audience, this movie, that I think is kind of cool and interesting what they do with that.
It's also underage love, like your licorice pizza, Eric.
yes, because she was a teenager. He took from home. By the way, she cheats. I realized watching this when she does.
She wants the waitress to die.
Yeah, she wants the waitress to die because she says you are. She says you are, and she keeps it on the guy for you and R.
I've known that for 30 years, Eric. Yeah, she definitely wanted that waitress to die, and that's why
for correcting her on saying the wrong name.
But she said the wrong name on purpose.
I know.
So it's like, how dare you correct my purposeful insult to you?
So then she dies. Yeah.
So then let's dig into a big chunk of the movie here. One of the things that was much talked about afterwards, which is the flashbacks to I Love Mallory, which is where this movie gets really dark in interesting ways. So it's portraying Mallory's sexually abusive home life with her.
He beats her, he molests her.
He's just an absolute monster rapist of a father, and an absolute monster neglectful mother who allows it to happen under her roof and is also scared of the dad. And it's just a household of abuse, played like a laugh track sitcom, where every awful thing in Rodney Dangerfield, and they cast a notable comedian, Rodney Dangerfield, along with Edie McClurg, who is known for sort of wholesome you betcha roles, and
especially this. I wanted to bring up her because, especially for younger people listening who might, again, if you're listening to this podcast, you probably some like watching movies to some extent, so maybe you recognize her from some things you've watched as in older movies because she was in so much. But she was so ubiquitous in the late 80s, early 90s. Like she would pop up in a lot of John Hughes stuff, Ferris Bueller, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. She was in the Elvira movie.
But even Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, because she was such a sort of a wholesome comedic character. Yes. When she says "fuck" in that movie, it's supposed to be it's meant for a cheap pop because it's Edie McClurg saying it. Yep. And at the time, she was also on the Hogan Family, which we talked about just last week. So,
and she was in Back to School with Ronnie Dangerfield and Oingo Boingo performing in a dorm room, because I was correct.
You were correct. Who did she play in Back to School?
I just see it on. I don't know. I don't recall the correct character, so it's probably quick appearance. Marge Sweetwater.
That sounds like an Edie McClurg character name.
Yeah, it's Marge Sweetwater. Get Edie McClurg.
And okay, so yeah, she is absolutely, her father won't even let her go to the John Lee Hooker concert with Donna. And she's got braces and she's dressed up like sort of an 80s goth. And man, she is in a world of pain in this home. But as we watch it unfold, these horrible, horrible things, it is juxtaposed with a sitcom, with a WandaVision style sitcom.
Yeah. WandaVision. Yeah.
That is just, that makes it, I don't know. Does it make it feel worse somehow too?
Both. Yeah.
Realizing that maybe the only way the scenes that her backstory could be told is through this funhouse lens, that we couldn't handle it on its own. Like, it's that terrible that we have to give it a coat of like clown paint just to make it palpable because it's so terrible. And Rodney Dangerfield apparently ad-libbed a lot of his lines, which is even more disturbing. And then, so we've got Mickey showing up, which here's a funny, the cheers are really funny.
Yes. Yeah. Well, especially, I wonder if anything was, if Woody Harrelson consciously or subconsciously affected things a little bit here, only because, again, Woody Harrelson at the time, Cheers just ended a year before. You're talking about the crowd Cheers, but the show Cheers ended the year before. That is what he is most famous for at this moment in time. And so when he shows up, it's already a dark sitcom parody, but he's like the Kramer. He's like the beloved character coming through the door that the audience cheers. And it's a funny moment. And he gives like a look to like a acknowledging the audience look that's very funny. And I wonder if they leaned into that. It played when this movie came out like a parody of, we know our leading man is a sitcom actor, whether intentional or not. But it worked. Like, it completely worked in this movie doing this kind of multimedia stuff.
And then he takes Mallory, and then it rolls credits really fast. It's a funny moment. And I think that's where sort of the sitcom stuff ends, because then we assume that he gets thrown in jail because he took an underage girl. And
no, it's auto theft. It tells
auto
us
theft.
Yeah.
But he gets out because of a tornado. Like, nothing in this movie isn't insane. Like,
right.
Like, even his jailbreak is like on horseback because of a fucking tornado storms the prison, the yard outside, and he goes back and saves Mallory from her family by helping her kill her father and mother. And Kevin, you're free. Frees her.
Where is Kevin? If you ever wanted the sequel,
was he at the trial? Yeah, what's happening?
Where is Kevin? Because although that is one of those moments, again, when you're ranking the evil here, it seems like Mickey's going to kill Kevin. She stops him and is like, "You're free, Kevin." So it's like Mickey's lunging at him. And then she's like, "No, don't kill him." Like, he was innocent and all that.
So, just horrible sexual lines and, of dialogue from Rodney Dangerfield. Though one of the more amusing elements of Rodney Dangerfield's character to me is when he's
what this is.
When he's watching WWF wrestling and watching Tatanka versus a jobber. And this guy, and
he's very upset with this match. It's not.
So I chalk it up to two things. One, nobody on set knew wrestling, and they're just like, "Watch this match. Who is this? I don't care." So, Rodney Dangerfield's going to ad lib something, but I would like to think that his character, who is it? Ed Wilson, because she's Mallory Wilson.
Yeah,
is just so racist. That even though he knows Tatanka is the star and is going to win,
right?
He's rooting for the white jobber and saying, "Kill the fucking Indian," because he's that racist.
Right.
And so much so, he's going to overcome all booking and make the jobber win. And the sitcom elements are gone now, but still, like, when he gets hit in the head with a crowbar, like, there's bird tweet sounds, and there's still cartoon stuff going on. All right, then we get their wedding on the bridge. The blood turns into animated monsters in the water and stuff like that. Even in this point, like one of Mickey's very few moments of I'm going to spare this person, like, because it's our wedding day, because there were jerks that drove by.
Yes.
But then we get into Wayne Gale. Wayne Gale's TV show, American Maniac. We mentioned this when we talked about another Gale, Gale Weathers and Scream, and her show. What was her show? I can't even remember.
Top Story?
Top Story, which, so we said at the time, true crime was all the rage, and there was a lot of tabloid journalism, hard copy. There were a lot of other ones. And so he has a show called American Maniac that actually is very specifically about notorious mass murderers and serial killers. And he is following Mickey and Mallory's crime spree. And he apparently followed around an actual Australian tabloid journalist. And that's how he convinced Oliver Stone to let him play Wayne as Australian. It was my first introduction to Robert Downey Jr. Did Chaplin come before or after this? Before, right?
I think it was before. Yeah.
I didn't see that.
I never seen Chaplin. Yeah.
Okay, but so this was my first experience with Robert Downey Jr. doing an accent while mumbling that I wouldn't experience again until the Sherlock Holmes movies. Right. And I was like, what did he say? But now there's captioning on everything and I'm saved. At the time, though, there were a lot of lines that were just lost to the mystery.
Although I think it's a very funny performance that some of the best humor comes from when he highly enunciates a word amongst his mumbling. So when he goes, this is Elton John confessing his bisexuality to Rolling Stone. I do find him very fun in this movie.
Yeah. But again, look at Mickey in that scene too, just playing it like a normal person. He's got this asshole circling him, like talking like that. And I'm like, what does he even think? Of course he wants to kill everyone in the world. Should mention too here briefly, in the reenactment from American Maniac, Mark Harmon, who many people nowadays would know as playing Gibbs on NCIS for 20 years or however long that show was
cameo.
Mark Harmon is briefly the reenactment Mickey in American Maniac.
And he was already a star at this point. So this was a cameo. Like, sometimes people misuse cameos for people who just weren't a star yet. Like they had a cameo. I'm like, they were just a struggling actor. But this was a cameo, but very fun.
Yes, because he'd headlined movies already.
Yeah, this was post summer school, damn it.
I couldn't find who played Mallory, but I
couldn't find that either.
I assume it was somebody unfamous. And
yeah, same here.
not a sort of a goof like Mark Harmon was. I don't mean he was a goofball. I mean there was a jokey joke thing to have him in there.
And that's a whole funny part, that reenactment. And again, very funny moment about the tragedy of them killing the professional cyclist who just happened to be there, but also horrible. Like, that guy did nothing. He was happened to be riding his bike.
But it's funny because people riding their bikes are funny. Because why?
Right. No,
because we see them and we're like, why are you riding your bike, dipshit? And so then we get oh man, one of the lines from this movie, for no reason, maybe because it's repeated, is repetition works, David. Repetition works, David, yes. Because it's repeated. Talking about how his line of work, what he does is junk food for the brains, and that nobody out there gives a shit whether they're watching the same footage and over and over again, the same episode of whatever, it doesn't matter. He's like, just be loud and cut quickly and nobody will care. And then we get into kind of the downfall of Mickey and Mallory. Again, their crime spree only lasts 3 weeks, so it's not like it's drawn out. Mickey and Mallory get into a fight over a hostage. She goes out and tries to seduce someone on her own, and he's played by Balthazar Getty, and he's a mechanic in a garage. And that's when Jane's Addiction plays, but also she has flashbacks to her father's sexual abuse. She kills him. And then we meet Jack Scagnetti.
Yes.
And so at this point, this is a cop who, like everyone else in this movie, is famous too. Like, so in this, there are famous cops, superhero cops.
He is the kind of like the joke of like the super cop that, a lot of movies have, like the celebrity, making headlines.
where it gets absurd in movies like Tango and Cash, where they will have competing headlines in papers where all they say is like, Tango scores drug bust like the general public knows who that is. Everyone knows Tango, and everyone knows Cash.
Have you seen the latest on Cash?
Have you seen what he did this week? Yeah, like people give a shit about these cops who have like just regular cop desks in the precinct. But yeah, they make headlines. So yeah, but he's actually written a book, Scagnetti on Scagnetti, and surprise, he's just as psychotic as the people he's tracking. We learn later on that it's because he's fucked up too. Everyone's fucked up. Everyone's got a past. That's what one of the things Mickey is trying to say during his interview, his live post Super Bowl interview at the end of this movie. But we learned that Scagnetti was his mom was killed by Charles Whitman, on famous again. Psycho sniper who killed people from a tower in Texas in the 60s. So also
recently referenced on this podcast as we were talking about the Buffy episode Earshot.
Yes, because that was what the cut episode was sort of evoking. Here we get, let's see. Oh, their car runs out of, okay, so he's tracking Mickey and Mallory, which doesn't seem hard to do because all he has to do is drive down Route 66, right? Like,
and there is because this movie exists in this surreal, bigger than life place. They're so famous. They're like on the cover of magazines and all this. And it's just funny to like, yeah, it's like their celebrity and their reality and how much of people like interviewed them is like, yeah, unclear. But
well, I think some of the absurdity is the fact that it's only a few weeks, but it feels like it's 6 months because to get on Time magazine, to get on all these covers, to get this type of swirling media hype feels like it should take longer. But I think that's part of the joke here is that it's almost instant and it's happening simultaneous to their murder spree. Like not even all of it is just because after they've been caught and there's a trial, though there's a swarm of fans outside the courthouse. It's also happening in the moment parallel to them murdering people. So their car runs out of gas. They're on mushrooms. And so it leads to some cool camera tricks of like, I'm not a demon, but then his like face sort of like distorts. A lot of these moments, not only do I remember them from the movie, but from the trailer as well. Then they wind up with last of the Mohicans, Russell Means, who plays a Native American man who sort of pulls them in, helps them, though also realizes that they're fucked up and that in the end he was sort of like a foreshadowed death of the demon he saw 20 years ago. But this becomes their downfall, and also the first person after the people on the bridge that he decides to politely not kill because it's their wedding day. The person that Mickey and Mallory both agree that they don't want to kill. This guy he's
treating them well.
He's wise. He's heavy. He seems to have a grasp on the world that they come from, like the darkness itself. The fact that he's sort of been able to be around all these poisonous snakes and not get bit. And but yeah, he's taken them in and helped them out. And
we should mention one thing you can easily mock about this movie, but also just Oliver Stone of this era was his sort of like fetishizing Native American mysticism, but without like really making stories about Native Americans. The Doors heavily used this. This was a couple of years after the Doors. And so it's just a thing that like Stone seemed to be like really into at the time. And I saw it was funny when I was looking up stuff about this movie, like fairly recently, Mike Schur, creator of The Good Place, Parks and Rec, made a joke because he's producing that show Rutherford Falls with the Native American characters, not wanting to have the Oliver Stone version of Native Americans, which is like the mystic, but we don't really get to know them, which this movie certainly traffics in with this sequence.
And also Mickey's his trait, which only happens a couple of times, of trying to speak to somebody he assumes is when he assumes their nationality or their ethnicity, trying to speak to them in the language. So he says how to the Navajo man, but then with the guy at the pharmacy, he says aloha as if he's sort of like Pacific Islander. Like, right. But this is like Oliver Stone's sort of like LSD trip mysticism that sort of kicks in, like you said, with The Doors, but with other aspects of his life. Where
it also makes me think of the Ben Stiller's show Oliver Stone Land sketch where I am an Indian, but I represent death with the Mr. Morrison's Wild Ride.
The Ben Stiller show. I'm really, really, really upset with both of us that hasn't been our good thing to enjoy in an entire year. In an entire year of recommending.
I once guested on a podcast just to talk about the Ben Stiller show.
You're like, well, you're like, my work is done. I've already. Right. Okay, so Mickey has his reoccurring nightmares from his childhood and wakes up and shoots the Navajo man. And Mallory is super pissed at him, so much so that she storms off into a field of many, many rattlesnakes. They both get bit, and then they're drugged out and on death's door trying to get the antidote from a drugstore when they are cornered.
A Matrix Green drugstore.
Yes. They're cornered by Scagnetti. This is after, by the way, Scagnetti strangles a prostitute who scratches his face and then leaves him for the scenes following with giant, horrific claw gashes down his cheeks.
Like bloody, like Freddy got him.
That he's just totally disregarding, by the way, and nobody asks about apparently either. So he's famous that you could just walk around being disfigured like that and nobody would care. Nobody has questions.
No. The drugstore, which is eerie in the way it's lit, and there's like skeletons up. And then a very interesting moment, I thought, just because there's no way I felt like Oliver Stone wasn't influenced by something very of the moment, which is there's a slight, quick John Woo-esque moment, which is Mickey running along, shooting through every window. The pharmacy at the cops outside. And this is 1994, right as Woo stuff had really made its way into America. And that felt like a very
that felt very
probably watched
hard-boiled. Yeah. All right. Then we get to the next big chunk of the movie, which is like the before and after,
which is more of the movie than I recalled. I would have.
It's like half the movie, right?
It's half the movie, and I thought it was like the last 40 minutes of the movie. So yeah, it's a bigger section than I thought.
We're in Batongaville prison with
Warden later
Dwight McCluskey, who is just this grotesque yeehaw hick who Tommy Lee Jones just, digs into with a knife and fork. Like, he looks ridiculous. He and Scagnetti both have like stupid pompadour-y hair going on, so between the two of them, they're just like, they feel like more heightened than Mickey and Mallory in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but again,
they're just because they're so cartoonish. Mickey and Mallory have their somber moments.
So it's interesting that like Sizemore, and I don't know if he's necessarily capable of going full tilt like Tommy Lee Jones or Robert Downey Jr. are, but Scagnetti doesn't, he acts normally like he's in a regular movie.
Yeah.
So again, pairing him, having the walk and talk with him between Scagnetti and McCluskey, one of them feels like they're in one movie talking in regular human ways, and the other one feels like they're Sheriff J.W. Pepper from the James Bond movies.
Yeah, it's true, because when Downey and Jones have their scene together, they're much more on the same wavelength of like go to 11, Like that's...
But yeah, so here we get that, and I think a lot of the actual inmates in this prison, especially in the cafeteria scene, were played by real inmates.
They were, and Harrelson, and including at that Q&A, talked about this, and there was a tense time. I actually looked up at what some of the few quotes I tweeted that night, and how Harrelson talked about like some of the inmates yelling shit at them, and how he yelled stuff back, and now was like, why the fuck did I do that? Like, why did I yell back at them? It's incredibly stupid of me.
Well, what better way of breaking out of your Woody from Cheers stereotype?
Yeah, I'm not afraid of you guys
than to get murdered in prison for talking shit on a film set. Okay, so here we get two things going on at the same time. One is McCluskey hates Mickey and Mallory being in his prison. It's making the inmates crazy and violent. Just their presence is riling them up. both of them are going to be transferred to a psychiatric facility, and they want Scagnetti. Somehow I guess they just know that this dude's a killer, to be in charge of the transport and then murder them like on the way to the place, and say that they tried to escape, which honestly they probably would have tried to. So,
right.
And they probably would have killed Scagnetti anyway. Like they probably would have succeeded. So McCluskey's got something going down, a deal with Scagnetti. Meanwhile, Scagnetti, unbeknownst to everyone, has a fixation on Mallory. It's his own gross sexual proclivities and psychoses and stuff. And then there's even and then we've got, at the same time converging here, Wayne Gale is trying to convince McCluskey to let him interview. Well, McCluskey's open to the press. He's like, you can't say no to the press. Press gets free pass. So he's trying to get Mickey to agree to a live interview after the Super Bowl.
Which I want to know what the network was airing the Super Bowl, and was this
CBS? Because they mentioned CBS. But yeah,
okay, because they must have some big show to come after it. But he's sure that people will flip away from whatever they have on to watch this.
It was Ian McClurg and the Hogan Family's final season.
It was the murder episode of Hogan Family.
What network was that on? Was that on ABC or something?
I think it was NBC, but I could be wrong.
NBC. Okay. We have another comedian here showing up, Stephen Wright as Dr. Rygold.
And this person who did directly work with Tarantino, and of course the DJ voice in Reservoir Dogs. So there's a lot. This movie has this funny thing of like, Tarantino was the original screenplay, didn't work on the movie at all. They changed a lot of it, but it's got these sort of tendril connections with Tom Sizemore, as you mentioned, never directly worked with Tarantino, but worked in multiple movies based on his scripts. And then Stephen Wright here, who did work with Tarantino.
Did Tommy Lee Jones ever work? No, it didn't work with Tarantino.
I don't think so. No.
They would hate each other.
I just mentioned, because I'm thinking of it, like Tarantino loves true romance. So he didn't direct that one, but he like loves what Tony Scott did with that movie versus hating what Oliver Stone did with this. So yeah.
Did he really hate this? This is such anyway.
But it's like, look, if Don Mancini and Tom Holland can throw each other shit, not Spider-Man Tom Holland, everyone.
I know.
Tom Holland who directed
Child's
Play. Yeah. I'm just reminding everyone. Then Tarantino and Oliver Stone, who, again, big egos on these guys, can have some issues.
All right. So then we get into there was a trial that we sort of skip over, though we see them being led into the courthouse, and she's like, I've never had so much fun in my life. And he says, you ain't seen nothing yet.
That was a big trailer line.
Things from the trailer. And then we get the interview where, again, Mickey is talking calm, cool, and collected. And you've got Wayne across from him just going unhinged. Like, it's like, let's just cut even when he's not like going off the rails, he's still amping it up for like TV drama. Right. He's mugging for his own camera, and then in a sense also mugging for us as we watch him with this live interview, which in the realm of bad ideas, this may be the worst of broadcasting the interview to the rest of the inmates in the prison at the time. Also, right. I don't know why they get to see it, but Mickey's words wind up spurring them into violence and lead into the end of the movie. But so
Downey's very funny throughout all this. Like I mentioned the Elton John bisexuality line, the part where the loud proclamation is the insane. And also I laugh a lot when he does the 3 weeks, 50 people killed. Not too cool, Mickey.
Well, he's right. Also get a tiny bit of backstory on Wayne, which is that he's married to someone he doesn't love, his boss's daughter, who he got pregnant, but then he's been having an affair with someone named Meng. And then it all collapses at the end of the movie too. Just a little bit of insight into Wayne's mind. But I always find it funny here that so while this interview is going on and he's trying to get a ratings grab with a notorious mass murderer, we've got cutaways to like old footage of the 50s of people of like traditional nuclear families gathering around the TV, like, and pointing at the TV, like, look, everyone watch. Part of like Oliver Stone, like, haha, I'm undercutting the American dream. But then the funniest part of it was, and I think this still holds up now, are the Coca-Cola bears still a thing?
Yeah. I have a pop Funko of the Coca-Cola bear.
So like they're doing this interview where they're talking about killing people and talking about like everyone's a sinner. It's like you can't get rid of your shadow. Love kills the demon, and then they cut to the Coca-Cola bears. And reportedly, Coca-Cola gave their permission to use this, then saw the movie and were super pissed. All I can say is who's ever doing the licensing for Coca-Cola needs to read screenplays and figure out and pay closer attention to what project you're actually endorsing. But it leads to a very funny cutaway.
But again, at Warner Brothers, Oliver Stone, 1994. It seemed too good to pass up, I'm sure.
All I'm saying is that it could have been used way worse somehow in this movie than this.
That's true.
It was used as like a commercial cutaway of a TV show that was happening live instead of like Mickey's animated self, Mickey's animated self fucking one of the polar bears.
Right. It's like blood dripping down the walls. Yeah. Projected.
He just massacres them with a shotgun. So a riot happens. A lot of people leave, and Mickey takes advantage of the situation and kills the guards and most of the guards in the room, takes everyone else hostage.
Kills Adrian Brody in an uncredited silent role.
I was looking for him and I couldn't pick him out. Okay,
I saw him briefly. I'm guessing he's Scotty when they're yelling for who's alive on the crew. And the guy's like, Scotty's shot. I'm pretty sure he's dead. Because I did spot him before Mickey starts shooting everyone. And
apparently, I don't know how you say his name. David Pasquesi was another uncredited cameraman. I could not find him though he's on Book of Boba Fett right now. Veeps David Pasquesi. Pasquesi.
Who is the actor, by the way? You know who I really liked, and I can't name him.
Pruitt Taylor Vince?
No, not him. But the guy who is Tommy Lee Jones's like right hand man, the bald guy who's like kind of like his, Iago is like,
who also says lines really sillily.
He's very fun, I thought. And then also very recognizable, has the last guard standing here is it's Boiling Acid guy from Batman Forever.
Tommy Lee Jones again.
Yes, they would be reunited a year later. And I guess his actual character name is Duncan Homoka. I thought he said Duncan Mocha. Like I thought it was a coffee and donuts joke.
I only knew it was Duncan Homoka because of the closed captioning.
So it was the closing credits for me because I thought, that's funny. I call him Boiling Acid guy, but here he's Duncan Mocha.
I like yours too. Did he say Duncan, Idaho? Yeah.
Yes, he's Duncan, Idaho.
Dune's Duncan, Idaho, played by that guy, Joe Grafasi.
It's Boiling Acid. I hope Tommy Lee Jones recommended him to Schumacher.
He's like, who's great?
And you know who could scream about Boiling Acid?
At the same time, Scagnetti has decided he's going to either fuck or kill or both Mallory, but she gets the better of him and beats him up. But everything sort of comes together as Mickey leads his hostages down a chaotic hallway where he's literally also beating off inmates who are trying to mess with his own hostages.
Beating off inmates, man.
Well, he was doing that before this too.
That's why he's so popular.
But he's shooting them and beating them off.
Right. But to slightly correct you, she does not fight off Scagnetti. Mickey shows up, and that leads to their whole like next.
No. She remember she broke his nose.
Oh, that happens. You're right.
That she goes at him, but then like he gets the better, and then they all point guns at her. So yeah. Because the guards rush in. But yeah, so she breaks his nose. He wants to kill her, but then Mickey shows up, and then she really gets the best of him, stabs him. Mickey winds up killing him. His shotgun was done. But then we get the more and more
and Tom Lee Jones is a very funny moment when he's told Scagnetti is dead and gives that funny like look like could give a shit or maybe that's a good thing.
Well, when he's being given a report about everything going wrong in the prison and
he's like screaming and yelling
and he's like Jesus H Christ on a crutch or whatever he says. I didn't mention one of his best lines at the beginning, which I would just assume is taken from the Tarantino script, which is like, Mickey and Mallory are the most twisted, depraved pair of shit fucks that has ever been my displeasure to lay my goddamn eyes on. That sounds like a Tarantino line.
Yeah. And like so many movies that have like 3 writers and a 4th person story by, there are pieces and little quotes and stuff from Tarantino in this movie.
We've got Wayne trying to report live while he's being a hostage and led out of the prison, and then sort of becoming more and more unhinged and actually killing guards.
And he starts joining. Very funny that
and,
he just like,
I remember,
and Mickey kind of gives another good, there's a lot of good reactions in this sequence, including Harrelson kind of watching when Wayne starts shooting people, like, oh, okay, that he's suddenly got another partner here.
Hold on, you're gonna hear me typing here. You talk about this scene.
No, I guess as we're getting near the end here, I'll say the Owen thing was always funny, and I liked it a lot when he's like, I'm Owen, like just this underplaying of it. I hadn't caught that he was the guy at the diner at the beginning for a long time. And it's still kind of like a weird little thing here about what he represents. Of course, the original ending would have given a lot more significance to him. So now, it adds to the insanity of the movie that we don't have that ending, that he just shows up as like this sort of strange, savior.
Yeah, and he's like, I'm a super fan of yours. So there's a little like, killed by one of your own, admirers aspect if he did. That's Arliss Howard, everyone, who's been in everything from Full Metal Jacket to just last year, Mank.
And he has a very funny moment with Wayne, who's losing it and finding out that he just torpedoed his marriage for nothing because Ming doesn't want him. And Owen says, "It's good to be with you, Wayne Gale. You do a lot of good for people."
Yes, that's how you know that's how you know, because up until that point, Owen's really calm, and then you're like, "Oh, Owen's crazy."
He's a Wayne Gale super fan.
Okay, so things look dire for Mickey and Mallory. She's shot. Mickey does this thing where he rigs 2 shotguns up, one to Wayne and one to Boiling Acid, and he's duct taped them, and he's holding them sort of his arms crossed with each, and it's the standoff with McCluskey, and he gets to walk out of prison. And
he's still broadcasting live. So the whole thing, the idea is that that Jones, McCluskey won't do anything because it would be broadcast live. If he decided to sacrifice the Boiling Acid and Wayne, it would be broadcast to everyone if he's like, I don't care about them, just to get Mickey and Mallory.
So in this moment, I love Waiting for a Miracle by Leonard Cohen at the beginning, and I love The Future, the song that's Leonard Cohen's that plays during the credits, but I also love the song that plays here called Anthem that's not on the soundtrack. So those wanting to hear this,
that's why we have that, and that's why we were uncertain about it, because
it's called Anthem. That's why I was Googling just now. And I will say that a few lyrics from this song get used in a show that starts on Peacock tomorrow called Wolf Like Me, starring Josh Gad and Isla Fisher. But it's a show I actually do recommend, but we'll just leave it at that because we're talking about something else. It's a werewolf show. Okay, let's see. But I think that moment is so good, and like when the inmates pull McCluskey down to basically mutilate him and tear him to pieces, and he's undone by his own Batunga prison. The music swells and it's great. I think in the director's cut, it's more bloody and you see them tossing his head around.
Yes,
actually,
my 2 big memories. I was going to say this in a minute, but yeah, it's like my 2 big memories of the director's cut are the Ashley Judd scene, which we can talk about once we wrap up here, and seeing Tommy Lee Jones's head being like tossed around by the inmates.
And then the murder of Wayne Gale, the final kill. Where he has to realize that there's no way he could talk or weasel his way out of this. He tries every excuse, every ploy, every tactic of trying to convince them. Love kills the demon. You're supposed to leave the witness.
He has a funny thing about how he likes Wayne, but he has to kill Wayne.
But he also doesn't understand. He's making a statement, but he doesn't understand what that is.
Yeah.
Which
this is kind of like
it's actually kind of this movie almost like it's making a lot of statements, but none of them are fully succinct. There's just a general feeling. And that's what Mickey is going on too.
And there's a parallel. Wayne has a funny line because Mickey says to him before Wayne kind of realizes what's happening. When Mickey says, "Do you believe in reincarnation, Wayne?" And he says, "I believe I'll live many times," which is a funny, pompous Wayne line. But it reminds me, it's an echo of Mickey has a very funny line during the wedding scene, going, "Has God of my world?" When he says, "Power vested in me has God of my world." So just the fact that Wayne and Mickey both think highly of themselves. And
that leads into the element of NPCs, right? Of like,
right,
I'm God in this world. I can kill whoever I want. Everyone else is just sort of like, background animals for me to play with. And we didn't mention it, but we learned, obviously we got a more protracted dig into Mallory's past, but like Mickey himself, like his father killed himself. It was abusive, comes from sort of poor abusive upbringing himself, and but happy ending for them apparently. Living the dream, starting a family, going to be great parents, get to lead their kids right, and whether or not they just travel around in their RV the whole time or if they settle down, we'll never know. But it's up to us to imagine. And did love, in fact, indeed kill the demon, or are they always going to be natural born killers?
And we get, of course, the flipping channels at the end with the last minute editing decisions, including
and that's OJ. Oliver Stone, Lorena Bobbitt, the Menendez brothers,
Tanya Harding,
the Branch Davidian compound being burned, things that had literally happened during I think almost a year of editing. I read something where like a normal movie has like 600 edits and this one had 3,000. So,
and this movie opened August of 94, I believe. And OJ, like the OJ chase was like that summer, like it was so of the moment.
That's why there was only like a kind of a clip of OJ because it was still kind of going on.
Very much. Yeah.
And man, this movie, again, they don't make them like they used to. And I'm not just talking about like social commentary. I don't mean like that. I just mean like the stylistic leaps and bounds of this movie and the way it is put together in montage collage style is just not done. You're not going to see this in a major released movie. So
the fact that this was a huge Warner Brothers release, again, it was like Oliver Stone at a point where he could get away with whatever he wanted, and did this. Again, I understand it won't be for everyone, and I can even understand if someone's like, this is just like pretentious film school bullshit, like it's just like throwing everything at the screen, because it is, but it works for me. Like it's like it
works for me. I think it works for a lot of people. I do think it's funny that the movie Oliver Stone directed right before this.
I was about to mention Heaven and Earth.
Yeah, so it was a bomb, and it wasn't critically well regarded, and it was sort of like the hiccup in this run. But it was with Tommy Lee Jones playing a very different character than he was here. He was the lead of the movie, but it was a much more somber, earnest leading man role than he played here as proto Two-Face. Yeah,
and I believe it's funny because I mentioned sort of the criticism Oliver Stone has gotten for his surface level use of Native Americans. Heaven and Earth, the film we're mentioning, was sort of his response to that with Vietnam, in that it was, I'm going to do a movie about like the Vietnamese people's experience. I've done all these Vietnam movies, well, two big ones with Platoon and Born on the 4th of July. Heaven and Earth will be like several characters that are Vietnamese. Though it'll be centered around,
but mostly Tommy Lee Jones.
But Tommy Lee Jones will be the main character. But still, like that was he was allowed that hiccup, and because he made a bunch of movies for Warner Brothers in a row, JFK, Heaven and Earth, and Natural Born Killers, bam, bam, bam. It is. I love Natural Born Killers. I was glad to see. I still loved it. Like I said, I was a little like I didn't know if I would when I saw it a couple years ago, but it totally still worked for me.
And apparently, would be remiss if we didn't talk about that there were some copycat crimes and killings coming after this movie. I don't know if Columbine, even that was still 5 years away, but in 95 there was a boyfriend and girlfriend who watched Natural Born Killers, and then they killed some people, and in where was it? Oklahoma. Yeah. So there was, what you react to also you beget, right? Like there is a cycle to some of this, and this is so over the top in that Oliver Stone portraying two cinema ready cool killers that have fans in their own movie universe would also have fans and unhinged fans in the real world. But again, it's also like what Billy Loomis says, which is like horror movies don't make people kill; they make
more creative.
Yeah,
and I was going to mention that too, the Scream thing, because it's like, I mean, and look, I firmly believe, what Ken Williamson believes. Obviously, there's always going to be people on the other side of that, which is like that, like watching like someone who is a normal, like never was going to hurt anyone person watching this movie is not going to be like, I must murder because Mickey and Mallory are cool. I just don't think that's how the world works. But yes, if someone's already fucked up or has issues or has problems, and it's like that, this could be like the how will I do a fucked up thing I was thinking of doing, like, well, maybe like that movie I saw. But yeah, that's the Billy Loomis thing. I wanted to mention, the Ashley Judd scene, which you can watch on YouTube, and it's probably the most notable, like, elongated sequence in the director's cut. It's also, from what I recall, because like we said, of course, there's Tarantino stuff peppered throughout this movie, but the Ashley Judd scene, I remember them even saying at the time, was probably like the longest thing they shot that was like almost all Tarantino verbatim. But I'm going to spoil a scene that's deleted, but just like the crux of it being that it was like, we see much more of the trial and I think Tarantino's script had a lot more that wasn't even shot, but that Mickey was his own defense attorney, and that Ashley Judd actually survived the teenager slumber party massacre that was on the front of that newspaper, and that he is questioning her and murders her with a pen, like, kills one more person during his own trial, that he is his own defense in, kills a witness who is going over this horrific story of her friends being murdered and her brother trying to save her and being killed in front of her. And then Mickey kills her and says, the defense rests. And it's more of the,
and shrugs and freeze frame.
Yeah. It's a well done sequence.
They do explain why Mickey and Mallory aren't gunned down like on the spot, literally. And Scagnetti's like, they make a point of Scagnetti making sure the cops don't kill them.
Right.
So that is there, because if that wasn't there, it'd be very strange that they're
especially after Mickey pulled the John Woo move and like shot at them multiple times.
Well, and then also killed the officer right there with a knife, like in the leg.
Right.
So that was Natural Born Killers, everyone. Way less insane and violent movie next week with Bonnie and Clyde.
But if you've got some if this is your first time seeing it and you have any interesting thoughts, feel free to email us at WeEnjoyPodcast.
Like, does it surprise you this movie exists? Maybe everyone who listens to this has already seen it, so we'll see.
Right.
Okay. Until next time, everything is possible, and love kills the demon. And Shakma.
Shakma.
Shakma!